remember actually saying one time to Kody, "Ugh, I wish I could eat whatever I wanted like Robyn can." He says she can't eat whatever she wants. She really has to be careful what she eats because she just gets sick with a lot of stuff. You know, part of me is like, oh yeah, I wish I had that problem because then my body would look right. But food too much, so I guess I'm glad I don't have that problem.
Do you recall from the previous season's finale during the tell-all segments when Meri Brown mentioned having a discussion with Kody? She stated, I recently spoke with Kody and he brought up various topics. When I viewed that segment, which I'll demonstrate shortly, I wondered about when Meri would have been alone with Kody to have such a conversation. When would they typically meet, correct? Then something occurred to me. I believe Meri was referring to this current season's conversation with Kody. When she told Suki during last season's tell-all about her discussion with Kody, I think this represents the conversation we're about to witness on the program. It's because, when else would they have encountered each other? They don't socialize together, and they don't have regular talks or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Here's what happened. A couple of weeks ago, he and I actually had a discussion, alright? And he told me, I'm still mourning the end of our marriage. I'm grieving. And I responded, Kody, you can't say that to me. And he insisted, yes, I can. And I replied, no, you cannot. After everything you've publicly stated about me on the program and in public and to the world about never loving me and all these very hurtful comments, you don't have the right to tell me you're grieving. So, this season, by the way, we understand that Sister Wives contains largely fabricated elements, at minimum from Kody and Robyn's perspective. Everyone on the program has ultimately acknowledged that what they express is genuine at the time, but they, you understand, recreate scenes. They have to return to the couch. They respond to questions months and months and months and months later. They react to clips that they view. And if something occurs, like a conflict, they have to recreate it because they never encounter each other when they're not filming. A lot of these interactions are literally just for the program to create a show, which kind of feels like, oh my goodness, you're just a television program, not really a family. But because Kody resides in Arizona and she lives in Paran, Utah, I don't understand how far away it is. She's in southern Utah. He's in northern Arizona. It's got to be at minimum a couple hours. I think she mentioned it's like 4. I think I recall she stated it's like 4 hours away. So, it's not like the two of them are getting together very frequently. And in the trailer this season, he was like, no, we're not going to reconcile. But he looked so dejected when he was embarking on the tour to get a conversation going, so he could apologize to all of the women, correct? And she's like, what are you trying to say? Do you recall that? I wanted to apologize with all my heart. I stated, I didn't love you. That wasn't true. Is there any part of you that would ever return to Kody? I'm not trying to reunite us in any way, Meri. We are never, ever, ever getting back together. When Kody and her separated and he drove her off and he started crying and he was like, it's the end of an era, Meri. I'm just so sad. You understand, it almost kind of felt like it was him crying tears for the money that was walking out the door. I don't understand how long Meri was invested with him financially, but I recall Robyn stating that the first 2 women to cut them off financially were Christine and Janelle. And she was responding to a question on one of the tell-alls, and she made a comment about how until recently, they all did everything financially together. And it wasn't until recently when Christine and Janelle asked to not have their money, you understand, in a family account. And when she expresses it that way, it means Christine and Janelle must have spoken to TLC and renegotiated contracts to make sure that they got paid separately and that they earned an income directly from the program, because then both Christine and Janelle created LLCs where the money was going directly to them. And I think Christine's was called just Christine, and then Janelle created one. I can't recall what hers was called. And then Meri followed up later with her own. And as each one of them left, the entire amount of the money that they were going to be making on the program then had to be divided. So say, for example, and giggles, say that they were making $45,000 an episode. Instead of it being divided by 1 and going all to Kody and Robyn. So they're getting the $45,000 directly into their bank account. It's then getting divided by essentially 5, with 2 of those going into Kody and Robyn's account. So if it's $45,000, that means for every episode they're getting paid like $9,000 each, which is not a substantial amount of money for this program, and it's not a substantial amount of money for like reality television. But I do understand that Sister Wives runs on a skeleton budget that they reduced the amount they were making a long time ago because they were going to cancel it. I'm sure they got a renewed contract when the SE ratings started to go up, but at the same time the ratings started going up, that's when Christine separated herself, that's when Janelle separated herself, and that's when Meri separated herself. And so then everyone's getting paid separately. So Kody and Robyn go from getting like, if we just use these numbers, it goes from $40,000, $45,000 going into their pot for every episode to $18,000 going into their pot every episode. And when they were separating the property, and when they were discussing dividing Coyote Pass, Kody and Robyn had literally just purchased a humongous house with a where they $2.1 million. They took out a huge mortgage of over $1 million. I think we estimated their payment would have been over $11,000 a month easy. And so if you're thinking of it in this context, the reason why they're so determined Kody to apologize and try to like cry and say I'm grieving to you, and oh I just really love you Janelle, is because they have a huge debt with this house that they need to pay, and the money from Coyote Pass would help them pay off their debt. I don't understand if they did. They haven't. Nothing's changed on the loan. The loan is exactly the same a year later. They haven't refinanced. It's still the same exact same, correct? And they walked away with a decent amount of money on Coyote Pass, but you have to remember they put in I think like $800,000 into it. So they spent $800,000 to begin with, and then they sold it, and I think Kody and Robyn walked away with $750,000, maybe from the sale of the of Coyote Pass if I remember, because I think they sold it for like $1.5 million, and then that doesn't include taxes, that doesn't include real litter fees, any of that. So, they didn't make as much as they could have on the sale of Coyote Pass had Kody not convinced them to come back and tried to woo them. And I think what he was doing here was for years, anytime the money was drying up, he was always trying to bring Meri in. And in the tell-all she stated to Suki, you understand, we had this conversation and he's dumping this on me, and he's telling me that he's grieving our relationship, and I told him like not after everything you've stated to me, not everything that you've stated to me publicly.
No. Like, you don't get to do this to me.
That's on you. You get to have that conversation with yourself or with someone else.
So you don't get to tell me that.
And I think that's a good boundary. Like, it's a really good boundary to have with someone. I think he was hoping he could make those kinds of comments so that he could lead her on. And when she states, what are you understand, like in that clip I just showed you, and he's like, no, we're not going to I'm not trying to get us back together. I think he was like, I think if Meri would have agreed to his stipulations, I think he would have tried to bring her back into the fold and tried to, because he needs her money. He needs her money, and he needs Janelle's money because they're walking away with, you understand, each of them are taking their $18,000, the two of them combined. And if he doesn't have their income anymore, all of that falls on he and Robyn. And then suddenly the lifestyle that they've built their life on falls apart because the bills that they've accumulated were based upon the fact that all of this program money went to them, and now it doesn't. It goes across the board equally. They each have a salary now, or each get a, you understand, per episode cut. And that's not normal for Kody. For until the most recent couple seasons, every dollar was going to him and Robyn. And now it's Robyn and Kody. And it's no wonder that Kody's doing special forces. It's no wonder suddenly there are more episodes per season because they didn't have as many episodes before. Last season was so long. There was over 20 episodes, and then there was 4 tell-all episodes. I think it ended up being like 25 episodes total, and then the same thing with the year before. So Kody and Robyn are having to work more to try to make a similar amount of money, correct? So they've expanded the seasons to like twice as many episodes basically so Kody and Robyn can make as much money. Are you with me on that? There were some seasons where there were only 12 or 13 episodes, sometimes 14 max. Now they're doing 20, 22 episodes. Last year it was 24, 25. I think all of this is because Kody needs more episodes because they get paid per episode. And I think that's why they did the laybacks. I think that's why they did the talkbacks. I think Kody would film as many as possible so that he can make as much money he was making before, but now he has to work twice as hard and Robyn has to work twice as hard. Robyn barely filmed in the previous seasons, and she had to film so much last season they actually had to work. He's such a jerk. But then, here's the rest of what she stated to Suki. If you are grieving, you figure that out on yourself. This is an example of me giving it back to him to carry. Doesn't get to burden me down with his grief of our relationship after all of the things that he stated. If I'm not saying he can't grieve, he just can't bring it to me. This is the confusion. This is the confusion that I talk about, like mixed signals that you've gotten throughout your whole marriage.
Yeah.
So, the apology tour is really just what he's already done for years with Meri and with Janelle. We're just going to see him try to do it on the program, but privately, this is what he's done to them and try to pull them back in. I mean, we've seen him lead Meri in quite a bit on the program. We haven't seen him have to do this as much with Janelle, because until Janelle and Kody split, honestly, it felt like things were going okay, and she didn't state she was going to leave him, and then it was over. You understand what I mean? She didn't lead on to anything, and then she's like, I'm gone. And they had that big fight. But with Meri, he always preyed on the fact that she was so in love with him. And that's so vicious. That is so evil to do to someone. And I've seen narcissists do this so much. So you have someone that just wants your attention. They just want your affection. They're starving for it. They love you, and they understand that, and you understand it. Like that person understands that he understands that Meri loves him. He understands that if he were to be like dropping and being like, okay, Meri, I'm ready to be with you, she probably would have dropped everything and gone with him. And so, he had to keep on leaving her little breadcrumbs to keep her from leaving him because he needed her money for all of those years, which Christine all but states in her book like how much money they stole from her. She mentions in the book that they stole her down payment. They stole her equity from the sale of her house in Vegas. They then used her for a down payment onto Coyote Pass. Like they wouldn't have been able to do any of the things that they had done in Flagstaff without Meri, because Meri was making so much money with Lulau. And Meri was talking in I think it was on a live. She was discussing about how the money used to be set up. And Kody would think that it was like he had a right to the money that she was making on her side hustles. And there was like arguments at some point in time where he was suggesting that she wasn't giving or contributing to the family in the same way that everybody else was. Meaning, you're not giving me the money that you're making, Meri. Because I've heard stories about literally men in this group showing up at a wife's house, and the wife has just gotten her money or her EBT card or whatever it is, or her stipend from the state for her welfare, and the guy just comes here and takes it and it's like, okay, bye. Now you still have to go pay and feed your kids, but I'm going to take the money and for myself. Like that's how nasty these guys can be. And so if she really does walk away, that's what this is all about. And I'm sure you guys all understand this, but when you think about how much their pay cut is, it's huge. It's 2/5, 18,000 instead of 45. They're walking away with 27, the three of them, correct? They're walking away with more than half, the three of them. And then they're left with 2/5 of what was left. You've got mortgages. You've got credit cards. You've got car loans. You have all this crap you own. You have expensive taste. You like to spend money on jewelry. You like to fill your house with art. You waste 25 grand on a picture or a painting for Robyn. You can't do that anymore once the money dries up. So Kody's going to start looking for someone new because then he can bring her into the fold and then he can get paid more even though he keeps stating that's not going to happen. But ultimately Meri dropped a hint in the end of the season at the tell-all that this conversation was him putting it on her hoping to lure her back in, and then really it's because he and Robyn have lost so much income. That's my theory. I can't state that as fact. But you come here for my commentary and my analyzation, and that's what I have for today. So, what are your thoughts about that? Let me understand in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video.